Our purpose is to create and gift experiences. Why? I don't know. So I'm asking you. No, I have some strong thoughts about it. But why would you say, why do we do this?
Cookies.
Exactly.
Create the magic.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Experiences are the foundation for the world we think we live in, right? The experiences we have coalesce into the beliefs and ideas we hold to be true, and most of which are awful. Consensus reality is full of awful experiences. The beliefs we form based on the experiences we have drive whatever we're gonna do in life. They drive our behaviors. I was talking about how reality is made. But you all get it. My point is, if we can make better experiences and thereby help people form more wholesome beliefs that are in support of greater entity flow, then we're cooking. Are you with me?
Yeah.
What is the Latitude Society? I can't tell you. Not yet. Not yet.
There's this guy walking around who I've never seen before, but he's got a top hat on and a suit and a cane. And he comes up to me and he says, "Excuse me, are you Alyssa Young?" And he starts telling me this story, and he says, "There's some people that care a lot about you, and they've been looking for you."
She was crying and laughing and smoking and shaking and drinking and like talking with a smile about how like she didn't know what was real and what was not. And at the end, she handed me the invitation.
If you get harmed, hurt, you can't be claustrophobic. Like there's, I think somebody even mentioned that there's they are not liable for spiritual damage.
It's hard to explain to somebody that it's not a restaurant, it's not a store, it's not a museum, it's something totally different, but I can't tell you what it is, so come on in alone and give me all your personal belongings.
And she said, I should be scared. And I was like, that was pretty much it. There is a door that looks like it's almost a warehouse door. It looks discreet. But once I slid my card through the keypad and opened the door, it was pretty special on the inside. It was impossible to tell how big it was. Yeah, very kind of disorienting from the very beginning, but also really nice. It was like a black hole or some freaky portal to another dimension. And at that point I was like, okay, I'm gonna, however much of this is real and however much of this is fake, I'm going to pretend it's all real, because this is so well done. I could really suspend any disbelief at this point.
Anyone who's been through book one knew how pristine and how detailed everything was. There was a lot of joy that you could just read and tell. A lot of people were in awe. You could really see this kind of emotional journey unfold.
There was an island, and at its center was a village, and on its shore there was a port. In the village there were villagers. They had their homes and traditions. They had their ways passed down for generations. At the port there were travelers. They had their ships and cargoes. They had their ways shared and traded with many lands. Now one day the villagers grew afraid. They wanted their lives to be simple. They did not want the ebb and flow of the other worlds coming to and fro. And they decided to build a wall. The wall they built stood thick and tall. It stood wide and strong and prime. It surrounded the village, separating it from the port. And for some time after, the village was quiet. And for some time after, nothing changed, which was, after all, the point. But one day, one man from the village dissented. And one night, this man set his mind to finding a way back to the port. He decided to make a passage through the wall. By the light of the moon, he removed stones from the wall one by one, and by dawn, he had made a tiny passage, big enough for him alone, and he walked back to his village home and slept. The next night he returned, but when he got to the passage, he found the stones replaced. So he fetched a friend of like mind and heart, and they decided to once again make a passage through the wall. They worked together. They worked all night. By the light of the moon, they removed stones from the wall, and by dawn, they had made a small passage big enough for them both. So together, they fetched still more friends of like mind and heart. And now numbering 12, they decided this night to make a tunnel beneath the wall. They traveled through the tunnel beneath the wall and went down to the port, and by the break of dawn, they had returned to the village with new things and stories and wonders and ways. And even after the first 12 had passed, those who had been shown the way would sometimes share it with another of like mind and heart, all under a code of absolute discretion.
I still feel sort of weird breaking the absolute discretion credo. Once you take that sort of promise, like it's hard to like go back on that.
Absolute discretion is about getting the permission to shape the world the way that you want it to be.
Or what you wanted to create or believe within the society. It was up to you to do it.
In this age where everything is known to everyone instantaneously as soon as it fucking happens, the notion of absolute discretion, where we don't talk, we don't post, we don't publicize, is radical.
Concierge desk. You're now present in the lounge of the San Francisco House of the Latitude. There is a challenge ahead that will rely upon your skills, gut intuition, and savoir-faire. You have been selected out of many and were chosen for a reason. One of our members has great faith in you. In BRIGHT AXIOM, my friend.
Okay, all right. The entity field is unstable, and I need to get you to location C. The forces of Entity Prime are everywhere, but so are our emissaries, so just be mindful. You're looking for a marker on the ground outside of 246 Cap Street. It's the Latitude hex mark. Okay. Look to the right, through the parking lot. The window on the second floor. There. Do you see him? It's a land kith. He's a guardian. It's a good sign.
I feel like I had, in some ways, dreamed of things like this. Everything is designed to make you feel like you don't understand how the world works anymore.
I feel like I'd been woken up, and the first thing I thought was, how do I help make sure this stays? How do I help make sure that something like this gets to as many people as possible?
It put this extra layer of narrative on top of the world around you, and it gave you, an extra reason for why things were the way they were.
You need to get to the drop point. The address is engraved on the marker. Just silently approach the bar and hand your ticket to the bartender. No words are necessary. In just a minute, I'll send you a text with how to proceed from there. Your entity level is subsiding, so move quickly and proceed to the drop point. In Bright Axiom, my friend. Good luck.
If you were going on a hike, you're discouraged from going off trail, but you have a map. I never felt that I was being told what all this meant. I was just being shown something. There are other people who went along this path. How do I find them? I could have just walked away, but there were enough little clues, enough little things that there's more. There were more questions at the end than at the beginning. The theory at the time was that the Book One experience was effectively a filter. And the people that you met, the ones that I connected with, were the ones that, like myself, took it further, whatever that meant for them. Because even though we were a community, ultimately, you are alone.
The magnet who disturbs my coma. How have you passed the entity crest? You have traversed and you have seen with blind eyes. I shall grant you what you seek. The signal is anomaly. I have been too good to you, tool.
Hey, Society Dispatch here. Look, this isn't really my job, but I've been getting some very strange readings from your location, and I wanted to follow up. Well, according to these, you've just lapsed into an entity weave. You may feel disoriented or your pulse increased. I've only seen this before when callers have some kind of brush with the intangible. I'm guessing that a guardian made a transpondence. Perhaps at some point you heard a word or a signal. Whatever it was, this could be a good thing. So hang on to it.
What is the Latitude? The Latitude is an international, extratemporal membership society which, through fellowship, transcends ordinary human limitation. The Latitude, for us, has a double meaning, as you can see. On the one hand, latitude means geographic breadth, width, a sense of leeway. But more importantly, the other definition is regarding freedom, freedom of choice. Our members enjoy freedom from limits. These limits include geographic, social, psychological, ontological, legal, and otherwise. This is a great deal to digest, I know, I remember. But trust me when I say you have everything you need and you'll know exactly what to do. As you embark on your journey, I'm heading off on my own.
Cecilia, I do not wish to leave you and our dear son. He is only 3 years old, and I fear he does not understand why I am leaving. He may never. Cecilia, dearest, in my absence, I insist, teach the new ones our ways. I don't know when I'll be back, but know you are always on my mind.
Dear Professor, I shall tune our members' hearts and minds to the experience of absolute freedom and absolute discretion. You venture far beyond the bay, into water uncharted, and I cannot lie, I fear for you. But know one thing, could not be more proud. In Bright Axiom.
I was sort of not raised with much input other than television, so I think television is a religion. I was Gilligan. I thought of myself as a bumbling child because it's all my father ever told me. Father, who's my teacher, is belittling me and impatient and unhappy with his own life.
You know, I was a Asian kid, Chinese kid in an all-white town when I grew up. My reaction to it wasn't to try to assimilate, but rather to try to vigorously define myself as something else.
My mother called me a service soul, in that I'm one who enjoys aiding the path of others.
I'm a queer trans woman, and it had been made very clear to me, not by my family or anything, who was still very Catholic, that was not a place for me or people like me.
I was just kind of starting to travel out of being in a valley for several years of a lot of depression. And so I spent a lot of time by myself, building cardboard facades for the crawl space that I used to live in. It was really glamorous.
When I was growing up, the Mormon faith always said, all these other religions are wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. And the people who are backing them, then they're in the wrong. That makes them bad. I never took my involvement in the Mormon church to the level where I would be entrusted with their secrets. Once you're on the other side of this point and you know what's going on, if you go back, you're damned.
I got a gig request who said that he'd seen me busking in Venice, California, and he asked me if I would come play at a private party in Northern California, and didn't really give me much more information other than that. I couldn't let anybody know that I was going to this party.
It is with great satisfaction that I write to you today. After a comprehensive screening process, you've been accepted for membership in the Latitude. The Latitude is a private membership society with absolute discretion as its guiding principle. To be clear, an individual who reports content publicly is not invited to return. Included in this letter are directions and an auditory recording hereby known as a mantis track in Axiom.
I was actually a little bit nervous that I was going to be kidnapped, or that, you know, there was going to be some kind of crazy pagan ritual with some kind of sacrifice or something like that. I didn't really know what to expect.
Like, immediately, little tiny alarm bells were going off, like, oh man, Mendocino. Like, if you know Northern California, Mendocino is where, like, people have compounds. That's the place where you go to get indoctrinated, like, fully.
I was given a link to some webpage that gave more context about what to pack and what to expect. And in that page was some downloads of MP3s that I could listen to while driving up the coast. So already I was being indoctrinated. I was being given permission to hypnotize myself to have this experience that weekend that would be different.
You now find yourself embarking on a westward journey via automobile. How and why did you end up traveling to this mysterious retreat? What is it about you and your path that led you here on this road, on the very perimeter of manifest destiny? What do you seek? It is our charge now to transition away from Entity Prime, and I will instruct you how to do so. before nations, before industry, and before your lifetime, we lived by another set of laws. We were guided by principles which allowed for unbound movement, limitless creativity, spontaneity, and ingenuity. We call this natural state of being entity flow. And you are currently experiencing a state of entity flux. At this very moment, you are undergoing a gradual shift in awareness. Can you feel it? In this way, your journey has begun. Gradually over the ages, another force made itself prevalent in the world. It is the force of order, boundary, and restriction. It defines what is and what is not possible. It manifests itself in a grid-like mechanism of imposing standards. This is the state we call entity prime. Indeed, the secret roads have been closed. There are those who believe the age of prime results from the hidden work of a shadow organization called the clerisy. This group of powerful autocrats seeks to dominate world populations through covert governmental and economic activities. The clerisy have attempted and failed to infiltrate and disrupt our order throughout the centuries.
I walked into the house and it seemed dead silent. I couldn't hear anyone, I couldn't see anyone. I checked a few of the doors and I found one open bedroom. So I walked in and there's a letter welcoming me by name to the farmhouse. It gave specific instructions to meet at a certain time in the morning, acquire a map, and then meet up with other participants. I mean, I didn't know what would happen. I was just alone in this house with instructions to get up early the next day. So I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up and I could hear some shuffling, commotion, and voices downstairs. So I went down and met the other, participants. And we were sort of taken aback by each other because this is the first time that any of us had met each other or become aware that there were other people. But each of us had cards with separate instructions to retrieve different items. Mine was the map. Another person was to retrieve a cassette player. Oh, and then another person was to find a golden cassette. Oh, and then we were instructed to leave the house and go across the street to a national park. Again, it was just happening so fast that I didn't have time to question what was going on.
Observe, if you may, the dappled light of sun through the leaves, and the moss that may be growing on nearby tree trunks. There is a creek bed just off to your right. You now stand in an open field. At the center of these headlands, this is where the air and the land and the sea and you connect. You will observe a stone archway. Portals, bridges, tunnels, hidden stairwells, and walkways are all within the realm of flow as they enable our passage. Now follow the rightmost trail leading south along those Sitka spruce trees. As you move carefully through the branches, follow this path towards a differentiated space. And here, within this space, someone is waiting for you.
We play in silence. Before us, is a parcel of hallowed stones. Ask me nothing and select 10. We place one stone inside of the circle, never disturbing the other stones. Begin.
There are moments in your life where you're bombarded with questions like, how did I get here? What does this mean? And weirdly, for the first time, this was not one of those moments. I was with strangers. We were faced with a woman who was sitting cross-legged, advising us to pile rocks in a certain pattern, and could be easy to mock, but it didn't feel appropriate here.
Good. Now, contemplate what we have created together. Follow the pink string. It leads to the compound, where the tangibles await. You know, there were rules and like limits, the parameters, but the basic thing was like the game was played in silence. So that meant that there was this really incredible non-verbal communication between strangers. And the purpose is to make a collaborative, creative endeavor. Like we're coming together to be co-creators and to contribute and to give more than you take. I think the point of that game was really instilling that as a value place very quietly. People were less questioning and more kind of delighted.
You see the string, and it's this really bright, almost glowing, really taut string that's wrapped intricately through redwoods, and we start following it really excitedly. It's like 20 minutes go by, and 30 minutes go by, and we're just keep walking, keep following it. And it seems endless. Our minds start kind of dipping out. It becomes, I guess, in retrospect, meditative, but also really desperate in the moment. And we start noticing that it's dark. It's dark now. We've been here for a very, very long time. The string takes us to the top of this hill, and we see, following the string just beyond the hill, these lights flickering just on the other side. Kind of start to hear conversation, and we approach the table. I start asking some very basic questions about where people are coming from and what they do. There's a couple of people who are architects, some are artists, but we did all have this brush with the intangible. Like we had all encountered Quas in the arcade. We all took the drink. Eventually, after sitting around for a while, someone emerges from the woods and begins giving a speech. He begins telling us that this is a society that is being reawakened after laying dormant for a very long time, and that each of us was chosen as new alchemists to help rebuild the society.
And everyone just kind of starts rolling in throughout the night. So we're all just like, nobody knows who's going until everyone just starts showing up. And there are these like mud huts that are like earthen huts that were built out there. And they had been built out over the last couple years. And they had the insignias that you sort of kind of get like to know the symbols, and they had them in there. And it was a pretty cool thing. It's like, this is the point where I'm starting to like, well, you know, I mean, like, at least it's fun, you know? I don't know, let's see where this goes.
The people that came, they all went through this strange induction ritual that I wasn't part of. I just showed up and I was there.
Take a flashlight, find the front door to this place, and I open the door, and there's 20 people in there. I don't know any of them, and they turn to me and they say, "You're at a wedding and you're giving a speech, go." And I immediately had the urge to go. It took long enough my brother to get married, but he picked the right one. Have you seen this beauty? Something like that. So they applauded my efforts, and that was the beginning of this 3-day adventure.
We're silent. Normally there's great fanfare, but word is there are creatures. They can be timid, so we will be silent so as not to disturb them.
And like, if you were to just take a snapshot in that moment, it's a cult. There's no question, you know? It is 100% like, and I'm having this moment, I'm sitting there going like, shit, this is it. This is a cult.
After the banquet, we start a bonfire. Somebody lights off fireworks, somebody picks up an instrument, a lot of different substances are going around, and everybody's just like bonded and having a great time, and we're laughing and connecting, and it feels almost tribe-like. And it wasn't until a few chunks of time had passed that I realized that the friend who had initially invited me here was not here at all. And what had started as this very obviously weird and strange experience led into this like fun. It was just fun. I was having fun, and I felt very connected between the group. The rest of the weekend was like lectures, and I don't know what happened. It just didn't matter. Because I think I was with this group of people that started from the same place I did, coming into this, not knowing what was going on, figuring it out together. My life back in the city had started to feel more like watching a movie that had already been spoiled for me. And instead, I was now coming back with no blueprint for what would be next. But I knew that now there existed this tribe whom I now had access to.
That was one of the points for me where I was like, I feel like I'm in a dream, because less than a year ago, I was just hoping that I could possibly meet these people, you know, like looking at them from afar, admiring the art that they were making.
All of the games that they were offering kept having me think, what could we do with this information? Where could this go next? If you're watching a whodunit or a murder mystery, the context is try to figure out who did it. It's a game. But in this case, the Latitude was asking, try to figure out what's special about this, or try to see as much magic as you can. They were actually trying to sell me on the ability to hypnotize myself, the ability to brainwash myself. And it worked.
And after Dabblewood, you know, a lot of us, or the majority of the people who went, really started kind of like reinvesting even further into the society and creating events. And that's when the Affairs Guild started up.
We started experimenting more and more and more, and a lot of people started taking it really personally, what we are and what we were doing and what for. We sort of thought of it as ours, and we started to think of it as real.
And it was awesome, and it was utopian, and it was sort of ideal in many ways, but then you get to the turning point, which is, what's the point of all this?
My name's Jeff Hull, and I'm an artist from Oakland. It was all meant to provide a sense of wonder and whimsy and possibility and, shared experiences and bring delight. It was meant to delight people. And that's why it gets so confusing when there are these unintended consequences to your work, and it ends up fraught with disappointment for everybody. We look at, the world, and especially the United States right now, and it needs help. It needs help, and I am not a political person. That's not my realm. I can contribute culturally, and I feel like the culture precedes the politics. That if we can shift culturally a little bit, then that enables us to, see things differently and operate from a different place.
It is and was a game at the heart of it, all the other community and auxiliary stuff, well, that's almost secondary, even though ironically that's like kind of the point of the game.
The Latitude was self-consciously a new, untested category of experience that we felt people wanted in their life, a place to feel that they could create things that mattered. So the Latitude was designed to be a powerful experience that would shift people's beliefs to drive new behaviors.
Like, oh, let's build a amusement park ride into the landscape of the urban environment. Through a series of very fortunate events, I have become independently wealthy. And it's a responsibility, and that's something like an ethos that runs in my family. Everybody's doing service. And so I've done that by creating hundreds of free cultural events in the Bay Area to try to bring people together and try to, give an opportunity for self-expression and also honoring the cultural legacy of the Bay Area, something that is on its last dying breath. Chop, chop. Let's make this happen. Let's make the magic happen. We can do this. You just got to drop all that identity bullshit. You got to drop all your preconceptions. You got to drop, your fear. And then we can transform it, meaning this, meaning everything.
A Praxis is essentially a meetup of society members where people come together to discuss some of the core principles of the society and to do these kind of interesting workshops.
The glass is strong, the glass is rigid, the glass holds shape. The glass is, it takes some care to handle it. It takes some mindfulness. And inside the glass, we have something that flows. This is not something I can pass, especially to so many people. But given shape, it's something that can be passed from hand to hand again and again and again. And so as we call together all of our entities into these spaces, into this form, we remember that we do so under a code of absolute discretion.
Tonight's praxis is an experiment in perception. It is said that when we lose one sense, the facility for another is heightened. For this purpose, we have provided blindfolds.
The water kind of represented experience. It was intangible. It was something that would slip through your fingers. It was moldable. It was shapeable. It was kind of a visual representation of flow. The glass housing around it kind of represented the firmness of what I believe to be prime. It gave this flow shape. These two things kind of symbolized the society because the water was our experiences. It was us. It was what we were doing at that very moment. And this vessel was, our rituals, our belief in things like absolute discretion and our rules and things like that. And it's what held the society together.
I'm not spiritual. I'm religious. I believe in ritual. What I found was people using the technologies of religion effectively without dogma. It seemed to be working.
Lacking religion, not that it is a bad thing, but it gives you a vacuum of experience. I think there are things in the human experience that are really important to kind of building a communal sense and a sense that you are part of something bigger.
I started to realize there was something kind of ironic about the whole concept of absolute discretion. The fable tells us all about these people who were able to break through the walls, keeping them from experiences and other ideas, and yet the society was becoming increasingly insular, not just from the outside world, but even within it. There were these little bubbles of guilds, Affairs Guild, Systems Guild, Salt and Pepper, and all these groups were becoming increasingly walled off from each other. If the Latitude was about breaking through walls, the Clerisy was about building them. And that's sort of what started happening.
I totally underestimated the power that the story can have upon certain people. You know, like for some people, heaven and hell is reality, and so is nirvana, and so is reincarnation. Like that is reality, and that's a story that's told. And it's a story, whether that story is true or false is not for me to say. I'm saying the power of the story and the power of the experience. When you take communion and when you have the wine and it's cathedrals, that's situational design. And stories, it's how we make sense of the world, is through telling stories. And sometimes those stories are true and sometimes those stories are false. Sometimes the stories you read in the news are true and sometimes they're false. And sometimes the story you tell about yourself is true, and sometimes the story you tell about yourself is false. So if we're always dancing in this world of fiction and nonfiction, let's play with it. I think a lot of people feel a sense of being stuck, even those who have like followed their, highest career ambitions. They're like, I'm a filmmaker, or I'm an architect, or I'm an actor. They're like, looking at what's available to them right now through just the monoculture, and they're really wishing that they had more sense of license, sense of autonomy, sense of discretion in their own work. And that was one of the main kind of subtexts of the Latitude. It's like, oh, you can have the latitude to do your most creative work, your wildest imaginings.
There's a lot of folks who daily feel there's been a wall set between them and greater opportunity. And, we offered a structure and a kind of forum for them to feel like they have allies and they have tools to burrow under the wall.
They're brave people. They're people who really stepped through the threshold. Every single one of them took a risk. And I honor them for that.
You still seek access, knave, to become initiated into the margins? Feeling brave? We shall see.
Quas invited you to step forward and to place your two hands on his orbs.
Step forward and be weighed. With dual palms upon the spheres, become revealed.
The orbs perhaps were some type of transduction device, evaluating you as sensing things. Previous knowledge was known of you, and it was being considered.
Your life expectancy is 90 cycles. You are misplaced.
The kith, as I later found it was called, bore a resemblance to Quas, but not that I would say they would be the same entity. He had eye stalks. They're too little, so perhaps he had other ways of sensing his environment.
I sense unrest. This is the place from which you can advance. The abraxas stone is the first tool of these architects to take the intangible and make it tangible. The abraxas stone is granted.
The placing on of hands and sensing and stimulation, then producing a tangible response?
In 60 minutes' time, you will be granted passage to the Library of Mechanics, room 904. 4.
Welcome to the Alluvium Chamber. This is an exalted space within the Order of the Latitude. You could only have arrived here by way of the Abraxas stone. Begin by turning over the sand glass in front of you. It is your assignment to create a scene upon the surface of the sand table.
Book 2 was weird. All of the walls were filled with all of these tiny objects, and there was a sandbox in the middle. And the instructions were basically to participate in Jungian sand play, which is it's a form of art therapy where you access the unconscious mind by manipulating objects and then ascribing meaning to them. It helps you pull things out of the deeper part of yourself. The amount of craft that went into sort of inducting, at least me, into a hypnotic, sort of devoted space before I even entered that room made that into a really, that sand play was a really transcendent experience of self-exploration for me.
When you have returned home, a message awaits.
The professor's journey was a distinct metaphor for the Latitude Society. In fact, I think it was a litmus point, and at a certain point in the Latitude Society, people were going online to see more elements of story to understand what was happening. So it was kind of more than a metaphor, it was an actual guidance.
Cecilia, as you may know, the last Champ event is a reversal of the Earth's magnetic field. It last occurred during the Ice Age, but this phenomena has been the catalyst for all major biocultural shifts. If I fail to locate the epicenter of this coming geomagnetic reversal before the Clerisy does, Quas believes they will use this well of entity flow, this boundless energy, for their own devious means. To this end, and to ensure a future for you and Walker, I have to go.
You're faring well. You've gotten one of these from Quas. This amulet, we think of it as an amulet. It's not just a pretty thing either. It's a tool you can use for access. Hidden passageways, inaccessible locations. It reveals that which is hidden. And what of Quas, the anomaly? What is he? Why is he messing with you? Quas is a shapeshifter, a transformer. He is known to us in the Radiant Society as an intangible kith.
Quas is someone who, really is a transdimensional being who doesn't enjoy being materialized. And he's really inspired by the Ramelzy.
First of all, Ramelzy is my enemy. I am not Ramelzy. I am Crux the Monk, stargazer, puzzle master of time itself. Get the message? Next question.
He came to do battle against the status quo. He had to create demigods out of these costumes of these demigods and create these roles so that he could wake up and do battle against the status quo.
Art was coming to the city, and the monks decided to do illuminations of the letters chassis for flight and development. since we had to stop because the dictionary was given to that damn micro-populace called the human race. So he sent the one thing that God could not control, our icons. He sent them straight to the subways. With the electromagnetic power of the vast transit systems, the baddest gallery system known on the planet for distribution of my words.
He's the one who's going to take you to task on your banality. He is all about the power of symbols and of language. These are our gods. These are our kings. Our symbols, they're ideas. They govern us. They govern our whole behavior in our entire society. So if you can change a symbol, you can change the culture.
All scientists now, according to the clergy, stated that we live inside a man spiritually, or caused it by fear. Alpha Positive stated in the first bet that we live inside an expansion-contraction unit, better known as a womb. Man, you have plenty of veins. Good food when you can eat it. Now, I love eating trains.
And Quas is the one who is trying to get people to wake up. And he doesn't have time to be super polite about it.
The professor was the voice of empathy and connection and welcome, and Quas was the voice and face of caution and impersonal, cynical self-criticism. The professor became more and more strongly identified with the society member and her or his experience, whereas Quas very much was the creator figure, the kind of cold godhead, and in that sense reflected Jeff.
I can't think of the word. An amoeba? No, an anomaly? He's an anomaly. When he would talk with people, they either wanted to influence him, wanted to get his favor in one direction or another about some perceived power struggle, or they were blown away by him and had put him on a pedestal and turned him into a celebrity, and then wouldn't give him straight answers about what was going on because they wanted to say what he wanted to hear, what they thought he wanted to hear.
Professor, in your absence, the thinness of our leadership has been revealed. You and I have long shared some doubt as to our benefactor's sincerity and Quas's cunning. I believe the shift in discord began at the societal praxis held just before your departure, the so-called town hall. As you know, it was with Quas's surly whispers sounding in his ear that our benefactor insisted on elaborating a change in our sacred tenet of absolute discretion. The clerisy began their infiltration that night.
It wasn't until the town hall event that I recognized the ferocity of that society. Yeah, it was amazing.
The town hall, though, was the moment where the social experiment really just died.
Is this going to be just like everybody just yelling at the Elders Council? Like, who is the Elders Council? Like, no one knows who the Elders Council are, or as if they even exist.
A lot of people didn't like that it was no longer just going to be a free ride. They had to be hemorrhaging money. There was no way they were making ends meet. Once the room was full for the town hall meeting, it was one of the first times I was ever seeing a large body of people all in their Latitude regalia. And it was so many people, like way more people than I thought.
It's an honor to be amidst so many esteemed compeers who have been so active in our Radiant Society for many months now. And my heart is full of regret that I have become thus dislocated from the community that I've apparently helped lead. I stand before you a straw man. A puppet. But a puppet with 25 minutes to talk, so. It's good to see many of you. I'm not joking. I've been dislocated from not only you, the Latitude Society of San Francisco, but also my family. And it's hard to be away, as any of you know, who have to be on the road. And sometimes it's good to come together in body once in a while, en masse, to have an experience together. One that will make an indelible mark on our psyche. I also need to tell you, there's change coming to the Latitude. Many of you know this. The change has started, and change sometimes is exciting, and sometimes it's fucking scary. Because change usually comes in right when we think we got it dialed. Right when we think we got it all together, that's when we get a wake-up call. That's when someone leaves our life. That's when we get sick. That's when a child is born. And we have a choice at that moment. Do we fight to remain the same? Or do we let go into the unknown? And the Latitude Society stands at that very threshold today. I'll just get it out there. Our discretion needs to become less absolute. You see, a funny thing happens when secrecy becomes the wall we've built anew. And we've cut ourselves off from the possibility of new things, out of possibly fear of change, fear of the unknown. And so, with that, and no doubt to answer some of the many questions you have, I'd like to invite some of my fellow elders to the stage, and we'll have a bit of a panel discussion for your edification. Join me in welcoming them.
Like, I've created like a checklist. What are the things that like a cult would do? You know, separate yourself from your friends. Well, absolute discretion might be that, right? Ask for money. Oh shit! Like, you know, they have like it was a gift shop beforehand, but now all of a sudden it's like if you want to continue on, like
this is not a cult. It's specifically designed not to be a cult, and so it is an entertainment. It's meant to be a very meaningful entertainment, but don't get it confused. It's not a hippie love fest. It's not a commune. It's not a free-for-all.
It's like all of a sudden, we went from having access to this beautiful community to having a huge change in the structure and who can actually afford now to be a part of it. And just the way that was communicated from the organization really didn't feel good. And I think that was kind of that was like the turning point for a lot of people. That was part of my turning point too, was just feeling like I wasn't sure if I could really trust the direction that things were going in.
For this to be self-sustaining over time, the discretion couldn't be absolute. It had to be shareable. And in fact, that shareability was constrained by people's devotion to keeping it so close, so absolutely hidden. I think on the other hand, it was brilliant to create a kind of scarcity so that belonging to the society really mattered.
Then the town hall happened to turn into what felt like a real town hall where people felt okay with just getting up and speaking their mind with the questions that they had, and it got really weird.
But can we as a community agree to have spaces that are not recorded? And that we have a place where we can be a community and are at least asked before something is put forward. I understand the Praxis, I understand these events, and God bless, and I know there's going to be a documentary, and I hope it's beautiful. Can I just say, Ed Snowden, like, do those most precious moments when we meet our compeers have to be recorded and the property of the Elders Council? Wait. Do you need absolute destruction? I'm asking for it in return as I give it to you.
So just, I know this is getting like lively in here, and we did provide a format to submit questions so that we could have some kind of procedural here that didn't turn into a melee. sir. What's your moniker?
Calico.
Welcome, Shalico. You got the stage. You got the mic. What do you need to say? What do you need to say?
I was asking if, does everyone feel maybe it's a good time to shuffle?
We were just about to do that, my man. We're just about to do that.
Nah, I was feeling that. Maybe you and the audience want to shuffle too.
We're about to do that.
We're all on the same wavelength.
Anything else, sir?
That was it.
It's a secret society. There's levels to it. There's layers. It becomes exposed to you with time. Be patient. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Be patient as well.
It was a hostile environment. I just felt like people marched into the palace with their Occupy boots and just tracking shit all over the palace. Maybe they thought they were speaking truth to power, but it's like there was no actual power. There was just this stack of cards.
It did feel a little wrong to be paying into something, because that's one of the things that you're always warned about as far as cults is, oh, are they taking your money? Whereas, and also with tithing to the church, the way it was always explained to me as a kid was that, oh, well, this money's going to be used to pay for new chairs or paint for the walls. And when you would go back to the church every day and the same part of the wall would need fresh paint, or you'd be sitting on the same broken chairs, you're like, where's this money actually going?
You can barely get lunch for $35 in San Francisco right now. And so the people who balked about that, I was really like, the door is right there.
I felt like a lot of people responded to nonchalance wanting money for the thing in a way that the level of entitlement surprised me. It was surprising for me that people didn't want to pay for the beautiful thing that came with all the free cocktails. That was more than, like, just economically speaking, like you're drinking $50 a month.
You're coming to a free party and protesting it. You're like drinking the free wine and music and the whole thing, and you're protesting. And to be standing on that stage and feel like I'm being protested at my own party, and that hostility, it was just, I felt like it was poison in the water.
I wasn't asked to facilitate or in any way lead the town hall. I had a set piece that began at X time and continued till the end. And that piece was to basically get a dance party happening, which I did. The crowd was already well out of control by the time I assumed command of the room. If I had run that shit from the get-go, it wouldn't have gotten out of control.
There's parts of this that I wish I could redo, but the general conflict, I think, is absurd, that you wouldn't pay for this.
The fact that people were angry that we now had to pay $35 a month confused me, because I want to live in a world where artists get paid.
And people left that meeting not understanding what he was saying, to the point that they got the opposite of what he intended. We need to be more secret. There's too many newbies. I didn't recognize half of these people. This is the problem. It's like fucking Fight Club or something.
And it was that night at the town hall, I was like, oh, that part's over. I can't bring these people into my home.
Cecilia, after weeks of scouring every square inch of this blasted island, my search for the epicenter of the geomagnetic reversal, the supposed well of entity, has proven fruitless. The coordinates sent to me by Quas led me indeed to an island, but this has been a fool's errand. Perhaps he saw me as a threat and thus sent me away. I allowed myself to believe that in abandoning the society and you, I would be serving a larger good. If only I'd stayed. P.S. This train has Santa on it.
is no long way to tell you this. Quas has closed the doors to our radiant society, and I fear he means to keep them shut. It is now abundantly clear that the clarity itself was a fabrication, invented by Quas to keep us united against an adversary. We need you to return. You know how to summon Quas. You need to complete this praxis. Return to the compound in the forest. The fire will be lit as ever, and it will burn the brighter when you arrive. The few of us in the council who remain are focusing our last entity manifestations on summoning the Kith to ensure your protection, but they are eager to flee. You have my love. In Bright Axiom, Celia Daphne Turner.
The tenets of absolute discretion were almost always presented to us as this idea of, can you keep a secret? And then all of a sudden to go to the town hall and be told that we're not doing it right felt more of like a scolding as opposed to, we need to adjust it in order to adjust our business model, because they never wanted to bring down the curtain.
I don't like to have to make things explicit.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but not many people have wanted to break absolute discretion to talk about anything on this documentary.
I don't know what it is that you're trying to do with this film.
I'm getting kind of a vibe from you. It's like this very authoritarian. It's sort of, well, what we in the Latitude would call prime.
Do you know why it's so important to us? Do you know why come here. I want you to just fucking get up. I'm sick and tired of this shit. Sit down. Colin, are you rolling? No, sit down over here. Spencer, no, come here. You've taken my entire week. No, Spencer.
Hey guys, you know how much...
Colin, keep it rolling. Colin, how does this look?
Kind of gross.
Great. Just sit down. Your eye line's right here. Does this look familiar?
Yeah. Hey man, I know what you're.
No. Seriously, Spencer. Like, you spent this entire week and you've taken all this time from myself. No. Spencer, you look great. Yeah, you look good, man. Don't worry about it. He is poor man Shia LaBeouf.
Why not like middle income
Shia LaBeouf?
I know, man. It's been a long week.
No, I know it has. And I have compassion for you, but you're trying to identify the story. So what are we doing here?
Right now, what we're doing here... Well, that's the one thing that maybe I'm not okay to talk about.
I was expecting more like a sunset than a blackout.
Next thing I know, I'm reading stuff online that says that Jeff just shut the doors. I kind of was confounded because it was so good when I left. I was like, what happened? Like, why, how could it have blown up to a thing that he just wanted to instantly close down?
I think all of a sudden you couldn't access the site anymore, and then it was like wildfire with people talking to each other about it. This can't be happening. Like, everything we've worked for, like all the magic we believe in, like it can't just be sucked out of the world right now.
Like, the Latitude closing felt like it was something, like someone close to me was gone.
If I broke, and if I went nuts, and if I went to a mental institution, and I told them that I found out half of my friends were acting, they would write it in my chart as a delusion. Half of my friends were acting.
People were invested emotionally in the creation space. People who created it. Like, it was their lives too. And when it shut down, it was taken away from them as well.
I'm almost ashamed to say it took me back to a place where I was when I was, about to be hospitalized again. Like, I felt the same feelings that I was losing people.
Like, this was their community. This was their church. This was their community.
I worry that I would lose the friends and the support network that I had built within it.
You know, these people who are coming off of really, you know, harrowing and difficult personal journeys and traumas and everything. And I think it really, like the hardcore contingent, were very, very hungry for that kind of belonging and that kind of acceptance and that kind of communion.
I don't think we had any idea that the tribe and the community of the Latitude would be as devoted and as heartfelt as it became.
If you aren't having fun, you've already lost the game. And I lost this game. The same argument would happen every day in the nonchalance offices, where I would have to go and say, these are the changes that we need to make this week. We're going to have these timelines, and everybody needs to be accountable to the things we're going to do. And this is our schedule, and this is our budget, and this is not a religion. And they'd go, but on that point, this is not a religion. This is an entertainment, and this is a business. And it's like, but, and we'd have hours and hours and hours of discussion around it. And that was the part that was like, all the wind is out of the sail now. By the end of Monday afternoon, we're still arguing about whether or not this is a religion or whether this is a meaningful entertainment product. And it got lost because of that culty secrecy thing and the people feeling so precious and special about it. And it was like, okay, let's downplay that and let's move on. And for certain people on the nonchalance team, it was like, no, you don't. Yeah, I mean, that was a moment of duress. For me, that was definitely a moment of duress. It was like, we gotta close this thing. At that point, it was like $3,000 a day. So I was like, let's end it today. Just close it, close it.
You know, this was bigger than what Jeff could handle, and it was bigger than what he could equip himself to handle in terms of hiring the right folks.
He wanted to create something that brought people together, that bonded people, that gave people a sense of play and adventure. And some of the people, especially some of the people who were active collaborators who had invested a lot of free time, were feeling suddenly offended and wounded and hurt and pissed off and, you know, disrespected by this machine that he was hoping would be only creating play and respect and love.
The second day after it had closed, I had been back for not even a day, and I got an email, mysterious email in my inbox, inviting me to a coordinate.
To meet at midnight in the dog patch area of San Francisco. And we brought black cloaks. We were told to wear black cloaks.
We walk over, and there's some shadowy figures kind of standing on the coastline.
And then a couple of the other people were already kind of a little drunk, being way chattier than I felt like it should be for the kind of mournful moment that we were all trying to have.
We all stood in a circle around a wastebasket that we had filled with ephemera and different things
that had been important to us, and we were all going to put them in a pile and burn them.
Didn't hit me until that point that I realized it was a funeral. Every time someone shared something that was really deep or touching, the lightning struck. You know, you can't design or create experience like this.
And I felt like we were able to kind of get the level of reverence that I wanted for that moment, but I could feel everything coming apart. I didn't want to have that same level of intimacy with some of these people, that I didn't feel connected to them. And I just wanted to be like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, and I came away from it completely feeling like the spell was broken, that it was over for me.
Are just a breath, and days become a sigh, and when the sun rides high and warm, remember the tale of spirit, star and whale, of constellation lost and formed. sea. We still sing, drink me, dragon lost at sea. Drink me, dragon lost at sea. A dragon lost at sea. A dragon lost at sea.
Hello? 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 In Axiom. Where is everyone? Quas! Quas!
Ah, the straw man.
Where is everyone?
They've fallen back to prime.
You are prime. You are so rigid and so fixed in your insistence that it has to go your way. This was a beautiful thing, and you killed it.
The zealots killed what they could not comprehend. The creation was suffocated.
What does that mean?
To secure the entity field, the tangibles must find alignment. Otherwise, the portals close. You failed. You are too late.
I was here all along.
You were here? The self-professed puppet? You do not see your own reflection. The betrayal is yours.
You did this. You killed this thing. There was so much beauty. There was so much connection.
I sense mania. I sense disease.
You knew what it was we began, and you lost heart. You lost nerve.
You stand now in your blame. The loophole is closing.
Your time is done, as is mine. This was never about us, and now we know for sure. They don't need us to create wonder. They don't need us to do magic. We thought they did, but they don't.
They never did need us. You have finally located the crux.
The fire's dying down, Quas.
The cycle is ending. What do you want from me?
I want you to remember why you started this. And I want your blessing for all those that continue in its spirit. Because what they do is an honor to all that you began. And then we just walk away.
In Bright Axiom.
On one side, the whole situation was a clusterfuck and was mishandled in many ways. But on the other side, it did create something absolutely magnificent.
You get that spark of magic, of wow, somebody thought of this and made it happen. It makes me think about what the world could be. You can suspend your disbelief for a moment and engage in this world of magic. Magic does exist, but it takes a ton of work.
The person that I was like 3 years ago, if they could see what my life is like now and how much magic there is in it and how much magic I am able to bring to other people, they would be astounded. I would be astounded. And I can't say enough about the absolutely incredible weirdos who just believed in making things wonderful for each other in ways that were surprising, in ways that were secret, in ways that were mysterious, like in ways that made me really feel seen. I don't know, all things come to an end.
And once it was clear that like they're not going to keep making stuff for us, it meant that if we want our community of experience designers to continue, we have to start making things for each other.
The same kind of selfless love that they poured into a project like this is the same kind of selfless love that I try to pour into everything that I do.
Make your city, your world, your town a better place. Like, add that whimsy, add that charm, add that art, you know, into something that is a little bit more permanent, not something that you just destroy, and make that into changing people's lives around you, just in little ways.
This set of rituals and this set of traditions and this legacy that we had all agreed to believe in together was really valuable and really rare because it was the good parts of religion in isolation without the bullshit, finally. I want to enter a designed reality that terrifies me and breaks my heart. I do. Because I learned from watching the Latitude Society that you can gather around a very simple story and create a community that's alive. Like, what story can we make now? What story can we make now, you know?
When I started seeing that there were all of these other people who were getting changed for the better, could this be applied to helping those going through some serious shit? Or if something like this can actually get somebody out of an actual cult, then there's something to experiential art and design, and I'm not getting that opinion from anyone we've spoken to yet.
The idea of the story, the narrative of the Latitude, is actually wrapped up in this film. That what you're watching right now, that this experience that you're having, that this moment, this is your book 3 or your book 12. This is your end. This is that moment where you realize that what you did was special, what you did was whimsical and unique and awesome. But it is over. It is done. There's nothing else.
Mistakes were made, directions were changed, new things are born, some things die, things take on new form and transform, and that's life.
3,000 people were confused, and I think 150 were pissed off.
I think we could have done it better, but we did the best we could with what we knew, and the intentions to uplift people and support people's freedom and creativity. That was pure and clean, and no regrets about what we set out to do. Just our execution was a bit off.
Maybe it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. Maybe you were disappointed by it, but if you're still talking about it, then that was some good art.
There's a next Latitude out there that has yet to be written, and maybe it's going to be devised and created by ex-Latitude members who hate me or Jeff for what we failed to do, but now it's in their hands. So to them I say, don't fuck it up, you know?
The Latitude Society is a lounge with a very elaborate entrance. And I know we want to define what this is. Is it a social club? Is it an entertainment? Is it a secret society? What else? A pyramid scheme? That was mentioned. Ponzi scheme. Good idea. Cult. Is it a cult? And I've got a lot of thoughts about what all of those things are. But I think the thing that I'm enjoying about it right now, for me, is that we are each other's mentors in these praxises, in these discussions, in these gatherings. We're all learning from each other, and it's not like the mentor is up here. It's like for me, what I'm valuing about the Latitude Society at the moment is that it's this like peer-to-peer mentorship program that I love. But I wouldn't say no to all those other things of what it possibly is. But I would add that if it is a game, I believe it is a game with very high stakes.